Today on Joy in Our Town, Brandi Anderson with King's Harvest Ministries discusses providing shelter and support for the needy.
Hello and welcome to Joy in Our Town. I'm your host, Scott Reese, and this is a program where we have the opportunity to explore amazing organizations around the Quad Cities, and more importantly, have the opportunity to meet the people behind those amazing organizations. And we do it all through a Christian perspective. And today we are just absolutely delighted to welcome to our set Brandi Anderson from King's Harvest Ministries. Brandi, welcome.
Thank you.
Well, a joy to have you, and I understand that this is your first time on Joy in Our Town and at TBN, and we want to welcome you here. So
thank you.
Very excited about what you're doing and just the time that we've had together already. You are a very busy young lady. So
Yes.
Tell us a little bit about yourself, and are you a native of the Quad Cities? And
I am a native of the Quad Cities, born and raised. I was raised on the Illinois side, though. Just
Okay.
moved to Davenport about 5 years ago.
Okay.
I have a husband. We have 3 girls.
Oh, great. How old are your children?
They are 2, recently 5, and 12.
Oh, good. Wow, that's quite a little span you have going there. I bet that keeps you busy.
Extremely.
Yeah.
Yes, it does.
That's great. So you live now in Davenport?
I do.
Which is also where the ministry is located?
Yes.
Okay, good. And how long have you been with King's Harvest Ministries?
I've been employed there for a year, but I volunteered 2 years prior to actually being employed.
Okay, and as a volunteer, what did you do?
I worked with the overflow shelter that we run in the winter. I was a check-in person, so when the homeless individuals come in at night, we just take their information and help them get set up with somewhere to sleep.
Okay, so you did that, and now you're actually employed there full-time. And so what is your role now? What do you do?
I'm the assistant director. I do a little bit of everything.
Okay.
I don't know how to define that really. Just anything,
Sure.
Anywhere there's a need, I'll go and help with, basically.
Tell us how it got started. I know it's kind of had some roots here in the immediate area, but tell us more about that.
The Vineyard Church of Davenport was located in the same building where King's Harvest is now.
Okay.
And it was members of that congregation who saw a need for people who were hungry.
Wow.
So, yeah, they started passing out sandwiches, and that grew into a meal site. And
Okay.
then they saw the need for people, needing shelter, and that's how the homeless shelter part of it got started, and everything just branched off from there.
Okay. So apparently then there are various aspects to King's Harvest Ministries. Kind of maybe walk us up the ladder and let us know some of the different things that you're doing there. You mentioned a homeless shelter, a meal program. I'm sure you provide clothing. So what all do you do?
Well, outside of the homeless shelter and the meal site, we do a necessities giveaway once a month where anybody can get personal hygiene products.
So that's once a month. Okay. When does that happen?
We do that the second Saturday of every month from
Second
8:30
Saturday.
until 10 a.m.
Okay.
And then we also do a grocery giveaway twice a month.
Oh.
That's on the second and the fourth Saturday of every month.
Okay.
From 9 to 10 a.m. And that's where we hand out a bag of groceries to anybody who shows up. There's no requirements. We also do a pet food pantry where we give out free pet food once a month to
Wow.
pet owners in need.
Wow. Now, why do you do that?
Well, the director saw that some of the homeless individuals coming in had pets, and
Sure.
they would not come inside unless they could bring their pets. And
Sure.
that's how our pet rescue got started. A lot of the individuals that we serve down there are families, and they're low-income families. And so these are needs that they really need this in order to keep these animals, and they love these animals, and it's so much better for them to be able to keep this animal that's happy in their home, that makes their home a happy place, versus having to give them up into a shelter where they really don't know what the outcome of the animal is going to be. So if we can help them to keep those animals, it's just better for the family because they are family members. They really are.
Let's talk about that for a minute, because you talk to the average person on the street, and they're going to go, you know what? You're struggling yourself, your family's struggling. It seems like your priorities should be taking care of your family, taking care of your children, and yet you're saying that we recognize the value of having a pet and kind of the healing that brings and the comfort that brings. That's actually an amazing perspective. I don't know many people doing that, if anybody.
Yeah, and a lot of people don't see family as pets, but we do. And a lot of the people that we encounter, these pets help them. They're emotional therapy animals.
Okay.
There's a definite need for them in their life.
That is interesting.
And, animals are God's creatures as well. They deserve a good life. They deserve to get taken care of. And just because a family is struggling financially does not make them a pet owner. They're just in a place where they need help. And we're very happy to help them with that. And it helps. I mean, I've seen families just blossom because of a dog. It's an amazing thing to see. We've adopted out dogs, and the families have called us and said, "Thank you. We're healthier now. We're actually walking this dog, and we're taking our kids to the park with the dog." Yes, so it's a great thing, I think, for families to have animals.
I love that.
Yeah,
that's awesome. So I also know that you have and we'll talk more about King's Harvest, but I just paused here for a minute because that just intrigues me.
Sure.
And I know that our viewers also are interested in that. I know you also have an animal shelter as opposed to doing when do you do the pet giveaway?
The pet food giveaway is every Wednesday from noon to 1.
Oh, every week?
Yep, and then we do
1.
it on the first and third Saturday of every month as well.
And is that located at the same building as King's Harvest?
Yes.
It's all in the same building?
That's at our downtown location,
The downtown location.
which is the homeless shelter. That's where we do it.
Okay.
But the pet food ministry is the only ministry we run where they have to qualify. It is specifically for low-income families.
Okay.
So if they needed pet food, there are some paperwork they'd have to bring in to show that.
That makes sense.
Yep.
But you also have an animal shelter besides that?
We do.
And was that birthed out of this whole concept of helping people care for their pets?
It was. The director actually started it out of her home because she had homeless men and women who would not come inside because they were not going to leave their pet outside.
Okay.
And we can't have the pets in the homeless shelter. So she started a foster program where she would foster their pets until they got on their feet, which blossomed into taking in other animals and then adopting them out, which blossomed into buying a building and having a completely separate no-kill
shelter. Is it also
shelter.
called King's Harvest, or what's the name of the animal shelter?
King's Harvest No-Kill Pet Rescue.
Yeah, that's what I thought. So isn't it one of the only shelters that doesn't support or practice euthanasia?
Correct.
Really?
Yes.
In the Quad Cities?
Yes. Well, there is another one that is no-kill in Milan, but we're the only one in Davenport who we're strictly a no-kill. We will not euthanize an animal. So we will spend a lot of money on medical bills to try to cure that animal. So.
Oh, that's amazing. So you provide that. What are the other things that you do at King's Harvest? I know you have a couple of different programs in terms of emergency sheltering and that type of thing.
December 1st through April 15th, we run our emergency winter shelter. That's where anybody over the age of 18 can come in at night for a place to sleep. We also have volunteers that come in every night and bring snacks for everybody so they get a bite to eat before they go to bed. And then they leave in the morning for the day. We have the age restriction on that because we are the only shelter who will allow anybody in, irregardless of their background. A lot of people, if they have an icky background, they cannot get into certain shelters. They may have done bad things, but nobody deserves to die out on an Iowa street, in negative 20-degree weather. So as long as they're over 18, we will do our best to get them in and get them a place to sleep.
That's a huge concept, and I think absolutely, because there are people that are watching Join Our Town and are like, okay, quite haven't heard of that before. Help us unpack that a little bit, because how do you then keep all of your clientele safe? Do you separate men from women in that night? Children? They have to be over 18, so there's no children.
Correct.
Okay, but knowing that they may have a shaded background, how do you keep clients safe?
So our men and women are separated.
Okay.
We do have staff all night that stay awake as well as volunteers.
Okay.
When they come in, we make sure we go over all the rules with them. They sign off that they understand the rules, and we do have zero tolerance for breaking the rules. People who come in, they understand that. They know that if they're with us, basically we say we're their last resort. If they're at King's Harvest, they had nowhere else to go. We don't have a lot of issues because they do know that without us, they're going to be outside most likely. So once they're very accommodating with, obeying the rules. We don't have a lot of problems with that.
Okay. So that zero tolerance policy is kind of the thing that they're like, okay, we know that if we even remotely start messing up, we're out of here.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
And so that has a strong effect, so you don't have issues. Okay. So that's interesting then. So that's a emergency winter program. Okay. And then as it starts to get warmer, I know you then expand opportunities in other ways, correct?
Yes, we will actually close that winter shelter April 15th, and then May 1st through the end of November, we'll run a program-based shelter that's quite different. We can only take a handful of people for that shelter. We do background checks. We have a men's shelter and a women's, so if women have children, the children can come with them. And we kind of work with them more on a one-on-one basis to try to help them with whatever it is they need, whether it's finding a job or getting their driver's license or finding an apartment. We do everything in our power to help them reach that goal before their 30 days is up.
Okay, so it's a 30-day program
It is,
where they
yes.
come in. Now, I'm actually intrigued by what you said earlier. Now, the emergency winter program, so you're operating two separate programs through the year. Okay, so the emergency-based sheltering during the winter. Now, they have to be 18. What if a mom comes in and it's an emergency? They have children. How do you accommodate that?
We would bring them inside and then we would contact the police. A lot of times the police are able to get them into shelters or get them into a hotel room, even if it's just for the night. We would never send them out on the street. If we had to seclude them somewhere for the night, we would.
Okay.
That's never happened that I know of. We've always been able to contact the Davenport Police Department. They've been very helpful with that because we do have that age restriction because we don't do the background checks. So we would never just turn them away, though.
Okay.
Never just say, nope, we can't help you go.
Yeah,
That's not
I
something we
assumed
would
that,
do.
but I had to ask,
Yeah.
you know, because that's kind of a big sticking point there. So back to the 30-day program then. It's actual, they come in and they stay night and day, and you have classes and counseling. So you've got a 30-day shot, a 30-day window into somebody's life. How successful is that?
Well, it's a little different. They actually can't stay during the day. It is
Okay.
where they come in just at night. And then we do have resources we give them. We work with other programs that can help them out. You get to know them a lot better and their situations a lot better. A lot of times we can get them into other programs, especially mothers with children. There's some amazing programs out there that can help a mom and children.
Okay.
They can do way more than King's Harvest can. So even
Okay.
if they're with us temporarily until we can get them into another program, it keeps them off the streets.
So you all have different contacts and different resources and organizations that are partnering together with you, that they'll be there in the night and then during the day you're helping them find the kind of help. So back to the question then, 30 days doesn't seem like a long time. How effective is that in terms of helping people move to the next level in their life? So it's a transitional kind of emergency 30 days. We're going to help you in a really, really difficult time.
And that 30 days gives a lot of people the time they need to get into another program that can help them out longer than we can. And we see that a lot where they're just with
Okay.
us. A lot of times they don't finish the 30 days. They're with us for 2 weeks until they can get into another program that didn't have an immediate opening for them. A lot of times, you know, we get a lot of individuals who live on SSI, which is nothing.
Okay.
It's hard to get by on that. So they're with us just for the month until that next SSI check comes in and they can
Okay.
get a place. 100 different stories for 100 different people.
Sure.
I would say that our shelter's successful. If somebody's leaving and we know that they're going back on the streets, we can extend that stay.
Okay.
We don't ever want to
So
send
there's some
anybody back out.
flexibility there.
Yeah,
Yeah.
a lot of flexibility there.
Great.
Yeah, we
Good.
never want to send somebody back out on the streets. That's never our goal.
Sure, that's great. You are watching Joy in Our Town, and I'm your host, Scott Reese, and today we are sitting down with Brandi Anderson from King's Harvest Ministries. We're going to hear more from Brandi and more about King's Harvest Ministries right after this commercial break.
More than 600 people are living with HIV and AIDS in the Quad Cities.
Over 150 of them don't know it.
The project at the Quad Cities provides support to hundreds of individuals and their families in Iowa and Illinois.
We've performed thousands of confidential HIV tests and helped HIV-positive mothers give birth to 18 HIV-negative babies.
Our mission, Your Life, the project of the Quad Cities, committed to action in the battle against HIV, STI, AIDS.
Welcome back to Joy in Our Town. We are talking today with Brandi Anderson with King's Harvest, and this is a program where we just kind of look around the Quad Cities and just kind of discover everything from a Christian perspective. And I am absolutely amazed at everything that you guys are doing, and it's really exciting. Any idea in the past 20-something years that King's Harvest has been in existence how many people have walked through the door, and how many people you've assisted. It has to be in the thousands by now.
Probably more than we could count. Yeah, I would imagine thousands and thousands and thousands of people.
Yeah. And tell us a little bit about how you help people. I know that there is a physical issue to this. There's an emotional side to this. There's a mental side to this. There's addictive issues that you deal with. But I know that at the very root of so many problems in people's lives, there's a spiritual void. There's a spiritual vacuum. How do you help people come to that place of rediscovering or discovering for the very first time that God loves them and that He has a plan for their life, He has a purpose for their life, and you kind of help them rediscover that? How do you do that?
We do our best with that. We have a great group of volunteers and coworkers there who are Christians who we pray with them before every meal. We have scriptures all over the walls. Even sometimes somebody who's just having a horrible day, to look up and see a scripture on the wall telling you that you are loved and that you are not forgotten. That can have a huge impact on somebody who you can't talk to because they don't want to hear it right now. They're having a really hard time. Anybody who ever needs prayer, we're always telling them and encouraging them, if you need prayer, come to us, pray with each other. I have seen the most amazing prayer sessions with some of the people down there. I mean, I always have this story about the most beautiful prayer I ever heard was from a drunk guy, and it was amazing. I mean, he just kind of came up, and I was talking to a gentleman who had found out he had cancer. He was having a very bad night, and I was offering to pray with him and pray for him, and he was saying, no, you don't have to do that. I'll pray for you, though. And this guy came out of nowhere, and he slapped his hand down, and he said, I'm going to pray for both of you. And he was intoxicated, but he said this beautiful prayer. I mean, and it was the most amazing thing. Just because somebody has an issue or an addiction, it doesn't mean that they can't be in touch with God. They have bigger issues. I can't even fathom what they go through. I can't. And so anybody who wants prayer, I mean, we encourage it. Come in, let's talk to you about God. Let's give them a meal and show them that we're not doing this because we want to, but we're doing this because this is what God wants. God tells us to do this for you, and He's a loving Father, and we're going to obey Him, and we're going to show you love of Christ in simple acts with food and clothing and shelter.
Okay. Well, just feel free to get your preach on right here on Joy in Our Town. That's awesome. So let me ask you a question then. I know in different organizations that I've interviewed here on our program, they offer different chapels and kind of stuff like that. Do you do actual chapels, or is this more of a one-on-one counseling, one-on-one personal ministry?
It's more of a one-on-one counseling.
Okay.
We do, a lot of the individuals there go to the Vineyard Church at Davenport, and we let them know if anybody wants a ride to church on Sundays, we will get them a ride to church.
Okay.
So, and we've had individuals, the director, she's amazing at going down and picking people up and taking them to church, and she does it quite often. So anybody who wants to go to church, we will find you a ride. We will get you there.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, that's exciting. So you have a lot going on, and we have, in our first segment, you talked about meeting personal needs with hygienic supplies, food on a regular basis of people. You also take care of people's pets if they need that. And then you also have an emergency winter program that runs, it was December through March. Is that correct?
Yes, December 1st through March 15th.
Through March 15th.
I'm sorry, April 15th.
April 15th,
I'm sorry.
So right on tax day then, you guys. And so then after that, then it moves into more of a 30-day program oriented where people have to actually fill out a background check and they can stay then for 30 days. And so what else do you do a clothing type thing? You provide clothing, furniture for people? What all do you do?
And we do have clothing at the necessity giveaway.
Okay.
We're trying to get away from the clothing. There are other clothing ministries very close to us that people utilize more. So we're trying to stick to the necessities and the hygiene products and let the clothing ministries do the clothing. We also we have transitional housing apartments that we rent out on the 3rd floor. They're actually just reopening because we were struck with a tornado, which is weird, in Davenport on October 6th, and it took our roof off, so those have been closed.
We knew the tornado, but I didn't know you were affected by that.
Yes, it did substantial damage to our building, and within 2 weeks, every single one of our ministries was closed down due to something. So last year was a rough year. We're happy to be back up and running,
I
and
bet.
those rooms are just getting completed. So we're happy to be able to rent those out again. And
Okay. So now, what do you mean by that? You actually, so you have apartments there. How many do you have?
we have 8 apartments.
8 apartments.
We rent them out for less than $300 a month.
Okay.
Everything's included, all the utilities. It's a great option for individuals who are living on a small income like Social Security, and they can't afford a traditional $700-800 apartment.
Sure.
So we can get them
And
up
is
there.
there a time limit in terms of how long they can actually stay in that apartment?
No, as
Oh.
long as they need to.
Okay, that's amazing.
Yeah.
Well, you are a busy, busy lady, and I know that just listening to you, that this is not just an organ. This is a ministry to you, and it's a ministry that was birthed out of the Vineyard Church. Tell us a little bit about the Vineyard Church. Your pastor is Pat Streep.
Yes,
Okay.
Pat Street, yeah. He's amazing. He really is an amazing guy. They have such a passion for people
I love that.
and just the community. They do so much community outreach. That's really what attracted me to that church is everything they do, they want to show the love of Christ to people outside of the church doors, which is amazing, and I love that about them. And they do that through their different projects and then through King's Harvest as well.
Is he the founder of the church? And how long?
He's not.
He's
no.
not the founder, but how long has he been there?
He was there before I was, and I've been there about 2 years, I believe. So I wish I could tell you an exact time frame. I'm not sure. I know he's been there for a while, and he was actually a member of the church for a very long time before
Okay.
he was a pastor.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Oh, that's great. So here we have a community organization that was birthed out of a local church that is serving the needs of our community. And I know that that's impossible to do without a strong sense of networking, a strong sense of resources. What are the types of ministries and like you have counseling services? What are the types of things? Who's networking with you? Who all is partnering together with you and making this a reality of counseling services? Do you have a food pantry involved? How do you do that? How do you come up with that amount of food to serve people? How's that happening?
It's the community. It's all donations.
All donations?
It's all donations
Okay.
for the food pantry.
There's no federal funding here?
None.
Okay.
I wish, but no,
Yeah.
we have no. We run completely on private donations.
Okay.
And sometimes if we can find a grant that we qualify for, we can apply for that.
Sure.
There's no federal or state funding. It's all the community groups, churches. We have Boy Scout groups who have done food drives
wow.
for us, high schools, churches that have done food drives. It's amazing what the community can do. We would not have a ministry without them. They really have been supportive, and they just keep it afloat. It's amazing.
So you not only have the strength of the Vineyard Church kind of as a foundation, but schools are partnering, community organizations are partnering. Everybody's looking, going, this is a valuable, worthwhile ministry that we really want to get behind, and that's how it all becomes a reality. Tell us about a changed life. Give us an example of someone's life, either a single mom or somebody that you have personally witnessed that you saw this program affect them and change their life.
I can give you an amazing example that it's still, when I see him, I get a little teary-eyed. We had an individual who was extremely mentally ill who would stay with us, and you couldn't talk to him. He was suffering very badly with something we didn't know. He would be outside in the winter without a coat. He'd come inside literally with icicles on his face. And we had a man who ran the shelter, and he had such a heart for Jesus. He was such a good guy. And he dug around and found out that this guy was a veteran. And he went through the Valor program, and they helped this gentleman, and he can come into our meal site now, and you can have an entire conversation with him. You would never know how sick he was. I mean, it's amazing, the transformation. It's so, I'm awe-inspired that not only God brought this guy through unimaginable things, I can't even fathom what he went through, but that the coordinator of the shelter, that he went above and beyond to help this guy that everybody just kind of disregarded because they couldn't get through to him, and his name was Brant, the shelter coordinator, and he just had such a heart for these men. So honestly, I think just all of us seeing that, we were just changed that this could happen.
I love that.
I mean, he's an amazing man, both of them, and it's so wonderful to see them
Yeah,
now
that's awesome.
from knowing where he was to where he is now. It's just, I can't even express it in words because he was so ill, and now he's just, you would never guess. It's a hi, hello, how are you now? And before, you couldn't get that out of him, so.
So our homeless veterans are quite often in the news these days, and yet here is a ministry and an organization right here in the Quad Cities, right in Davenport, that is not just reporting on that, but really actually literally making a difference in the lives of our veterans. So this man was a diamond in the rough, and life had really roughed him up, and yet he was able to come into the King's Harvest and found a brand new start in life. So if someone wants to participate with you, what are the areas that people can get involved with? If someone just said, hey, I'm a lay person, I'm involved in a church, I'm looking for an opportunity like this to get involved, what are the things that they can do that are available to people that are coming in the door?
There's a lot of volunteer opportunities.
Okay.
We have people who help with the meal site 3 times a week, people who help with giving out groceries at the grocery giveaway, giving out necessities at the necessity giveaway, giving out pet food at the pet food giveaway. Our biggest need is volunteers for our winter overflow shelter. It is that would be a night shift. We have people who come in for an hour at night and help check people in, or people who stay the entire night just to be an extra set of eyes
Now,
and
when
ears.
you call that an overflow shelter, what does that mean?
Our winter shelter. We have a few names for it. Sorry, this emergency winter shelter.
Okay.
A lot of times it's also called
So it's
an
all
overflow.
in one location.
Yep.
So you need people that would come in, literally stay awake through the night, working a third shift, making sure everybody's safe.
Yep.
Okay, what else?
And helping sign them in at night. We need groups
Okay.
to come in at night and bring food,
Okay.
Snacks for these people. It is a big task. It's feeding 40 to 50 people at night.
Oh.
We get a lot of small church groups that do that.
You have 40 to 50 people staying there at night. That's both men and women combined?
Correct.
Wow.
Yes. Yep. And that the colder it gets, that number starts to climb.
Is that pretty much split down the middle, men and women?
Absolutely not. No, we get about 10 to 15 women, and the rest are men.
Are men, yeah.
There's
That
a
makes
much
sense.
bigger need for men than there
Sure.
is for women. Yeah.
Sure. That makes sense. Okay. So there's a lot of areas that people can get involved. Okay. If someone does want to get involved, how do they contact you? What's your phone number? Let's start with that. We're going to put that at the bottom of the screen. So if you would like to get involved with King's Harvest Ministries, you can call this number.
It's 563-570-4536.
Okay, so that number is at the bottom of the screen. If you would like to get involved and to help out in what's happening there, be sure and call that. And is there somebody particular that they ask for, or just whoever answers
Whoever
the phone?
answers can help them.
Okay, so whoever picks up the line on the other end can help you find out how you can get involved. And also, what is your website?
It's kingsharvest.net.
Oh, okay.
Pretty simple. They can go on there and fill out a volunteer application.
Okay.
They can mark what ministries they want to help with, and then we email them back all the information on how to get involved.
Okay, so kingsharvest.net, and that also is on the bottom of your screen. And before we close today, give us the actual physical location of King's Harvest Ministries.
We are at 824 West 3rd Street in Davenport, Iowa.
Okay. It has been a joy and an honor having you on Joy in Our Town today. Thank you for sharing your heart. Thank you for sharing your ministry with us. And we just look forward to all the good things that God does in 2017. You have 16 behind you, and 17 is ahead. And this is Joy in Our Town. I'm your host, Scott Reese, and it has been a delight to have you join us today. And we look forward to seeing you next time right here on Joy in Our Town.
This program has been sponsored by the Trinity Broadcasting Network and made possible by your telethon dollars. Your continual support can keep Joy in Our Town brought to your home every day. So write Joy in Our Town, P.O. Box A, Santa Ana, California, 92711.